Stop using presets. I think your photography deserves better. I know that in this day and age, using presets is probably very commonplace. I'm here to tell you that it can detract from your creative development as a photographer. So I'm specifically talking about presets used mainly in Lightroom or Capture One, not talking about LUTs, which generally come from the cinema world, where you are using technical LUTs to change the gamma and color profiles of a recording medium to an editing medium to an output medium. So I'm not talking about LUTs in the cinema world. I'm talking about presets used for photography, mainly in Lightroom and also in Capture One and some other editing software as well. So I'll split this into two parts. The first part is the making and selling of presets, and the other one is the buying and using of presets, okay? So firstly, the making and selling of presets, I don't have really a problem with. I support the creator economy and community in this regard, where I think that making digital products and selling them is a good thing. It's part of the whole ecosystem of multiple income streams. And digital products like presets are a great way to create passive income because you do all the work up front. And let's be honest, making a preset is not that hard. You do all the work up front and then it becomes passive income. You're making money while you sleep as you just put it online and sell them. So I fully support that idea. I just wish it wasn't presets. And that comes to the second part of this, where it's the buying and the using of presets. And that's the issue I have. First and foremost, especially nowadays, I think a lot of photographers define their work based on something to do with post-production. And that's where presets live. They live in post-production, right? Not the shooting part, after the shooting part. So that already is a flaw in itself, where too much emphasis is put into the post-production, the retouching, the editing, whatever you want to call it, okay? And there was a time, where Photoshop didn't exist. Computers didn't really exist for photography. And there were great many images made by great photographers. So there was a shift with digital because everything became so easy. And presets kind of fall into that category. Is the efficiency of applying a contrast, tonal and color adjustments packaged in one click, where you just click a button, apply a certain preset, it changes the color and the contrast and the tonal range of your image. And I don't think that your photography should be defined in a preset, because the photography should be defined in the photography part, in the shooting stage. That's where photographers' style, vision, whatever you want to call it, emerges from the shooting stage. You should be able to develop your style without the use of a computer or any software. You should be able to do all of that in the camera. And I've mentioned this before, that doing as much in camera serves a purpose. And this is one of them, where too much is involved in nowadays in the post-production, where people are spending 5 minutes shooting, 5 hours retouching. It should be the other way around. It should be 5 hours shooting and 5 minutes retouching, So too much emphasis there. And another point is that I think using a preset that you buy commoditizes your work. It's something that anyone can buy. So if you rely on a preset to define yourself, someone else can buy that same preset and create the same look and maybe even charge cheaper than you to get the job. So there's really very little use in using presets. And I know some of you may be thinking, well, I just use the preset as a starting point, and I will adjust it and tune it to the way I like. It's not really a starting point. The starting point is the raw image. That's already the second point, you know? So I don't think that's the way to go because it just cheapens. Like when you commoditize something, you cheapen it because the lowest price wins. Could be a can of Coke. You can buy it at the supermarket less than you can buy it at 7-Eleven. It's the same product. So when you apply that to photography, it cheapens. The lowest photographer wins. The cheapest photographer wins. So that's not a healthy way to do it, is it? The third part is about starting each project from a clean slate. In my previous video, I talked about a product photographer that I assisted 2 years for who was basically specializing in fragrances and perfume and cosmetics. And I remember a time where we were shooting a catalog. So basically that means that you create a set and you light it and you shoot it. And we were just finishing a shot and getting ready for the next shot. Now, when you're shooting a catalog or any group of images, it's important sometimes to keep everything pretty consistent so they belong in one collective. We could essentially just change the product. One perfume A, switch out to perfume B, put it in the set, and it's pretty much ready to go. But he said, no, break the set, start over. And I'm like, why are we doing this? Because we just need to switch the product and just make a few adjustments and then we're good to go. No, start over. I want a clean slate. And I later learned that it wasn't really the logistics and the practicality of it because that didn't make any sense. It was more the fact that in his mind, he needed to mentally start from a clean slate. So he didn't want anything in the previous shot to linger on and affect the outcome of his next shot. And I think that's super important. So when you use a preset, I find that it's very easy to always reach for that whenever you start post-production on a new project because it's easy, you know? And if you think that a preset defines your vision or your photography, you will always be reaching for that first. When in fact, you might want to look at each project from scratch and start from there. And I think that's a much better way to develop your own creativity. So these three things I think are really important to consider when using presets. Again, I don't object to selling digital products or anything else if you're a content creator. I just wish that people are at least conscious of using presets that may slow down the creative development. It's probably just easier to start from scratch, okay? There are so many photographers, the most influential photographers of our time started shooting film with no computers, and they rose to fame, you know, without the help of that much post-production. And unfortunately, I think that's changing because computers and digital imaging are so easy and we're living in a much faster world now. But I still hold true the concept of being a photographer, which means you define your look, your style from behind the camera, mostly 90% of the time. Of course, if you're shooting for clients and the specific job requires more digital involvement, like what I do with CGI, for example, that's a different story. But forget about the clients. Just say your photography, your personal work, you know? You should be able to just pick up a camera and shoot a great shot without any digital post-production at all. If you can do that, you're well on your way to developing your own vision, your own style, right? If you rely too much on post-production, that's where your images start looking like everyone else's, and that's not a great place to be. Short video here, but I just wanted to throw this out there. Please consider subscribing, and also heads up to my membership program starting soon.